Welcome to Know Your Balls podcast, the podcast where you got to know your balls. And today I'm the Carr-Gloth, and filling in for my good friend Robbie Williams today is our guy AJ Alona. AJ, good to talk to you, man. How you doing?
Doing good, Avi. How about yourself today, man?
I am loving this kind of time of year right now. Every night there's an NBA playoff game with stakes, that matter. It's not just like a regular game. Although some of these games are blowouts, I'm just really like happy. It's like my favorite show is on every night for like weeks on end. So I'm doing great, and I hope you're here to really know your balls and really talk some NBA playoff basketball.
Of course. I think the only times I've ever jumped on have been Colts-related topics. It's not a show that I think I know a little bit more outside of that. We'll see. We'll see if I can keep up.
Yeah, show your range. Yeah, you gotta know your balls. So yeah, today NBA playoff heavy episode because that's what's really going on. Not as many new developments in the NFL or Major League Baseball for that matter, and 'tis the season. So we'll talk about each series, but before we do that, we obviously got to mention fans are back in the arenas now, and there's like a lot going on with it. It's kind of like a dichotomy of like, yay, there's fans, there's like a happy, exciting, energetic atmosphere. And then there's this other side of it. We've had a number of interactions between players and fans, or players' families and fans. Uh, the most recent being Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. They were in Boston taking on the Celtics, and as the Nets were leaving the court after their Game 4 win, a fan, apparently like a 21-year-old kid or whatever, threw a water bottle, almost hit Kyrie. He was arrested. I believe he's being charged with a felony, if I'm not mistaken. This is hardly the first incident from this playoffs. Russell Westbrook had popcorn dumped on him in Philadelphia as he was leaving the court. At Madison Square Garden, a Knicks fan spit on Trae Young. In Utah, there were fans that were going at Ja Morant on the Grizzlies, his family, saying a lot of racist and apparently homophobic things. So there have been really bad incidents that have obviously caught the attention. Obviously, this is a very, very small slice of the cake that is the NBA fandom. But I mean, especially specifically for each of these fan bases, it's a really, really bad look. It's something that is like it's now become the focus of something that would have been a lot more clear cut, like good. Like the NBA playoffs are back, fans are back. We have like a high stakes atmosphere again. But instead, here we are, AJ. We're talking about fans and them kind of being a bunch of hooligans, for lack of
Yeah,
a better word.
it's such a bad look because like we're just barely getting back into like the full, semi-full arenas and stuff like that, and then you already have these incidences happening like so frequent. No, it's like it's ridiculous, man. It sucks to see. I always hate the idea that when people look at these athletes, just in general, as like I paid for my ticket, I'm watching on TV, like you need to do, I'm paying your salary, like that whole kind of mindset. And I think it was Kevin Durant even kind of put it after last night's game that we're not animals, we're not in a circus, like we're, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
the I don't know how some fans justify it. I don't know if they're just drunk and they're just idiots. I mean, this guy was a Celtics fan, threw something at Kyrie, so there's obviously something there, but
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, do you think there's anything to like why it's happening so frequent now that people are finally back in the stadiums? Like what's
I, I mean, there has to, like, yeah, I think part of it is the fact that everyone's been locked up for like a year, right? Everyone's been in quarantine. Everyone's had to socially distance. Um, I definitely think that plays a role in it. I also think there's a lot of underlying racial tones. Like there aren't many times in the United States culture where we have like a majority black performer performing for like a majority white audience. It's like NBA basketball and like music festivals, right? Like that's
yeah.
it. Or like certain certain concerts of certain performers. But I definitely think that like it's not one thing. It's like it's a multitude of things. And again, obviously, like you just mentioned it. Like I wonder how they rationalize it. Well, like if you're doing something wrong, it's always going to be flawed thinking. It's always going to be like something that's like that shouldn't be. I'm glad that there have been swift repercussions. I'm not so happy with like how much airtime some of these fans are getting. Like I know what the fan who threw the water bottle at Kyrie looks like. I think he was wearing a Kevin Garnett Celtics jersey. Like young kid, his face was all over TNT last night. So like I
exactly
don't
what
like that part of it. I think that needs to change a little bit. But uh, also fans should just stop stop being dicks. Like they should just stop
I
throwing stuff and spitting on people.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I didn't even think of that. I know what the guy looks like too. Like I've seen it. I'm sure. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like when people
and that
do
shouldn't
stuff
be the
like this,
case.
exactly. When people do stuff like this, they want that. They think it's cool. All right, they're like, "Oh, I'm being talked about on ESPN or whatever it is." And then you have other people who are kind of stupid, who they see that happening, and then in their minds, they're like, "Oh, I could do that. I could throw a water bottle at somebody and get, you know what I mean?" Like, I agree with you, and that's a problem in a lot of different circuits in our country, but that especially uh, is yeah, that's got to change for sure. So you kind of mentioned too that you've appreciated the responses. So the guy that threw the water bottle got charged with a felony, like you said, for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. How do you feel about that? Because I
Yeah,
find that
I mean
interesting.
I don't consider a water ball to be a deadly weapon, right?
Yeah,
Like if Kyrie had been hit with a water bottle, I think obviously he would have been fine. I don't think that would have caused like a major injury. Um, that being said, like if there isn't like a really swift repercussion, if there isn't like a really swift and like harsh punishment, then like what are we doing here? So while the language of the charge I might not agree with, I think like the severity of it, I'm okay with it. Like if that makes sense, like
yeah,
I don't necessarily like follow in terms of like the actual wording they used in like the criminal charge, but I like the fact that they banned him for life, or that he's subject to a ban for life. And same with the fan in Philadelphia. I think it was the same thing with the fan in New York who spit on Trae Young. I don't know exactly what happened with the fans in Utah and John Morant's family, but
I think same thing.
I like the severity of it. I think that like it's like there's no point in even considering a punishment if you're not gonna like do what needs to be done. That's how I view it. I don't know if you agree.
No, I agree. Yeah, like you said, the wording is a little interesting because I don't think, in many cases, in most cases, a water bottle is definitely not going to be considered, a deadly weapon. But I mean, you set this tone. You know what I mean? You put this out there, and it kind of shows that maybe they're not joking, and then it does put it in their heads that if I do something stupid like that, yeah, there's actual repercussions to it because these bans or these indefinite bans or whatever they put on these fans, like yeah, it's a big deal to a lot of people, but to some people who maybe you don't go to a game very often, maybe that's like the one and done.
Make it count.
Exactly, exactly. I just find it funny how these people keep doing this, and do you think that they just
Yeah.
genuinely don't think they're gonna get caught, or do you think that they're not
I
gonna?
mean,
What do you think? Because there's so many
I have
cameras,
no
like
I have no idea. I just know that like this guy would never do that on the street. Like
no,
right? Like
no,
like these fans who are like pouring popcorn on Russell Westbrook and all this other stuff that they're doing, like they would never do that in public. And like in this, like this is the only setting where they feel like they can get away with it. Like that's why they're doing it. Like if someone throws a water bottle at Kyrie Irving in a crowd of Brooklyn Nets, like on the street of Boston, like there's gonna be some physical repercussions there. Like
yeah,
they're not just gonna like the fan would never do that. Is what I'm saying. Or at least I hope they wouldn't. But
no,
like,
and it's
they they're not pouring popcorn on 6'3" NBA players, right? Like in public, like they're doing
Exactly.
that because they feel like they're protected.
Exactly. And it's look, I mean, look, look where it's happening. You're not gonna have somebody do that in Brooklyn, obviously, because I'm sure you'd get your ass kicked. Like it happened in
Yeah,
Boston, right? The whole Westbrook thing happened in Philadelphia. The Atlanta thing or the Trae Young thing happened in New York. You're not gonna, of course, you're in your home court. You feel like you got your people around me. They probably are like, I'll throw this water ball at this guy. Someone else is gonna do it. They probably think that everyone around them has their backs. In all honesty, and especially because it was against Kyrie, and Kyrie just came off of a great game. You know what I mean? I'm sure he was pissed
yeah,
at him. I don't know. I think it's
yeah.
stupid.
Kyrie was cooking. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They should have stopped booing. Like it wasn't working. Um,
Yeah, that was a trip.
yeah. So I mean, look, we had to address that, but I want to move on because obviously that's a very small amount of fans. Like the heavy majority of fans were great. They brought the energy, they brought the atmosphere. Um, so I mean, I think it's worth bringing up, but like I'm ready to talk some hoops. I'm ready to talk about like actual games.
Let's do it.
Um, so I went back. I looked at the predictions that Robbie and I made last episode. I think it's going to be interesting to like bring those up as we discuss our thoughts on the series so far. I'll start with the East and we'll move to the West. Um, I'll start with the 1-8 matchup. Philadelphia Washington. Philadelphia leads this series 3-0. They have game 4 is tonight on this Monday night that we're talking. I think you and I both expect Philadelphia to win this series. I mean, it's 3-0. It's a 1-8 matchup. Robbie and I each picked the Sixers to win in 6. We thought Washington would give a little bit more of a fight. Obviously, that hasn't really turned out to be the case. I think the way that the Wizards have guarded Joel Embiid has been just like, I don't know. I feel like they have so many more bigs they can throw at him. I feel like they need to have some of their guys foul out. Like they really, not to like say they should like assault him or anything, but like make him feel you. And I don't think they really have done that.
I mean they're intimidated. It's easy to say now, but this is exactly how I expected this series to go. Um, I really didn't think it was gonna be close. Like Washington had a tough time even making it in. Like they had to do a lot to get in, and they got stuck against Philadelphia. They just don't have enough, man. It's either, if Russell Westbrook's even when Bradley Beal's on, if Russell Westbrook is off, that team is off completely, and he's been off a good majority of this playoff series. Um, I just yeah, I could see the series closing tonight. To be honest with you,
Yep.
4-0,
I guess
4-1.
Robbie and I had a little bit more faith in the Wizards than we should have. That first game was close. It was a 7-point game, and then it was a 25-point game and like a 29-point game or something like that. So I mean, it really got away from Washington fast.
Well, like I said, I mean, even when Bradley Beal's on, because he's been on a good majority of this playoff series in general. Like he's putting up 30 plus all except for the game 3 of the series.
He's
But
he's, he's averaging 30 per game, yeah,
yeah,
in the playoffs.
so to me it goes down to Russell Westbrook. Like it really does, because who do you have outside of that? Like you really don't have much on that team other than those two that are consistently like keeping up with Philadelphia. Because Philly has Joel Embiid, but they could hit from other places, and they've showed that. I mean, their starting five all had you know double-digit points last night, and that's been consistent. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's gonna be over quickly.
I agree, Phil. It's like a formality at this point. I would put my money on a Sixers sweep. Yeah, at this point, it's about pride for Washington. All right, this 4-5 matchup really interesting. The Knicks and the Hawks. Robbie and I both picked the Knicks to win in 7. That's looking tough right now. Atlanta leads the series 3-1. The first 2 games at MSG were just electric, not just because of the crowd, but also they were close games throughout. Atlanta won by 2 in game 1. The Knicks won by 9. And then both games in Atlanta, the Hawks handled business. They won by double digits both games. Trae Young has been absolutely sensational. on the other end, Julius Randle while he's putting up decent numbers, he's been pretty inefficient. He's missed a lot of shots that I think he should make. I think Atlanta has more talented players. The Knicks, I think, like what they did well in the regular season is they played really hard, and I think they overachieved a little bit in the regular season. They play really hard. I think Coach Tom Thibodeau definitely deserves to be a finalist for Coach of the Year. I think it should go to Monty Williams to win it, but that just shows you he's gotten the most out of what he has on this roster for the Knicks. I think Atlanta has more talented players, and I feel like in the playoffs, when the level of effort, at least in theory, is a lot closer, the more talented players are going to win. And so I picked the Knicks in 7, and as the series started to unfold, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about this." So I'm not going to completely discount the Knicks in this series the way that I'm going to discount the Wizards in theirs. I could definitely see the Knicks winning. I expect the Knicks to win Game 5. I don't expect the Knicks to get sent home and eliminated on their home court. Game 6 in Atlanta, if it happens, of course, it's going to be really tough. I think if I had to put my money on how the rest of the series would unfold, I'd say the Hawks would win in 6. But I can see a scenario in which the Knicks come back and at least force a Game 7. But again, the way the series has gone so far, the more talented players have played better. Nate McMillan, the head coach for the Hawks, I've liked his adjustments on the fly so far. And so I think the Hawks have positioned themselves well to make some noise and win a playoff series.
Yeah, I was, I was right there with you guys. My prediction was Knicks in 7. I thought the series was going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth every game. And it started that way, but then it just, yeah, it took a turn. So now, I don't know. I mean, can we talk about Derrick Rose a little bit? It's been super
Oh
impressive
yeah,
since he got thrusted back into the starting lineup. Like you said, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, they're putting up some points, but they're not playing super efficient. Like they're not doing what they need to be doing to win. But Derrick Rose playing like his prime kind of, like he's impressed me.
yeah,
And I've always loved Derrick
yeah,
Rose. I've kind of really hated that he's been not passed around, but he's bounced around from team to team. Like even since Minnesota, so, he's bounced around from a couple
yep.
teams,
He was on the Cavs. I remember that. He was on the Cavs for a hot sec.
he played
That
with
was
the
weird.
Cavaliers.
Yeah, in the 17-18 season, he was teammates with LeBron for a
Oh,
second.
I do
It was
remember
really
that.
weird.
Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, yeah, Cavs. Then he went to Minnesota, then Detroit, then he got traded to New York. Um, which he's a good. He's been relevant and been able to chip in a little bit anywhere he's been, but he's been playing great. I think, gosh, when is Game 5 on Wednesday or Tuesday?
Uh, Game 5 of the series
I
is
think it's
on June 2nd,
so
so
Wednesday.
that's Wednesday.
Yeah, I could see this. I don't know. I think I agree with you. I could see the Knicks taking Game 5, but probably gets closed out in Game
I think it'll
6.
be I think it'll be tough for them to win in Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely see the mood has shifted for sure.
yep. That's
Spike
the Hawks
Lee
just need to take care of business. Yeah, on
Spike
their home
Lee is
court.
not happy again. He's poor Spike Lee.
Yeah, I mean, when Atlanta won Game 1, they took home court advantage. Now they don't need to win another game in New York to win this series. They can just close it out at home. So I think Atlanta is going to make life really tough. But if they let the Knicks hang around, well, we will we'll see how that goes. But Hawks lead 3-1. Milwaukee Bucks and Miami Heat. This series is over. Miami with a clean sweep. Or sorry, not Miami, Milwaukee. Sorry, my mistake. The Milwaukee Bucks with a clean sweep. Quite a statement for a team that lost to Miami in the second round of last year's playoffs. Miami, of course, went on to the NBA Finals, losing to the Lakers in 6. I mean, this was like I thought we were going to get an incredible series. Milwaukee wins in overtime by 2 in Game 1, and then they completely blow the door open on the rest of the series. Like it was not even close. Game 4 in Miami, the Heat were up in the first half, and then Milwaukee just took over and ended up winning by 17. I picked the Bucks to win this series, but I picked them to win in 7. And I think that first game was like an indication that we were going to get a long series. Did not happen. Robbie actually picked the Miami Heat to win in 7 games. So first
All right.
official L handed out right there. Robbie picking Miami to win in 7, and then they get swept.
He
So that's never good.
There's no possible way he could have been more wrong on that one.
Yeah,
And you know
like
what?
that is, yeah.
I wouldn't have. I
Sorry,
don't think I would
Robbie.
have picked them in 7, but I definitely could have seen Miami taking this series. To be honest with you, I mean, as a team, like you just said, they're coming off the NBA Finals. They had a rough stretch to start the series for sure. I mean, after the first game, especially, like Chris Middleton hit the game winner. It was a
Yep.
phenomenal game. They barely won by 2. I was like, okay, it's gonna be a fantastic series. And then, like you said, doors blown open. Not even close. A single game after that. So I don't know. What do you?
I
I
mean,
mean, it's interesting to look at like
Miami.
Miami going forward.
Yeah, Miami. Like a lot of people think they just overachieved. That the bubble really helped them. Like they won the Eastern Conference last year. They were in the finals, and yet coming into the season, was anybody like Miami's a title threat? Like nobody was saying that. Nobody was like Miami is a real contender this year. This is the team that was in the finals last year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they have a lot of soul searching to do this offseason. They trade for Victor Oladipo. What's going on with that? Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo. They have some good players still, but there's a lot of question marks facing this franchise. They do have some good young talent in Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson. Tyler Hero is a guy that whose stock went way up in the finals, and this year he did not have the year that people were expecting from him. There are a lot of questions for the Heat. I mean, they're the first team eliminated from the playoffs. That's never a good thing. You never want to be that team. And then meanwhile, on the other end, Milwaukee, it was kind of like a formality. Like it became like waiting for a formality at some point. Um, People, I think, are waking up to the Bucks now because everyone's talking about Brooklyn, obviously, and Philadelphia is the top seed. Milwaukee, rather. Why do I keep doing that? I keep saying Miami when I'm talking about Milwaukee.
Close enough.
Milwaukee. They're trying to show that they're a real legit title threat. They shouldn't be discounted. They took care of business, and now they're in the second round. So I'm very interested to see how they progress.
Yeah, I think the fact that they were able to win and Giannis did not have to do he didn't have to put up crazy stat lines like in any game. I mean, he put up 30 in
Yeah.
game 2, I think it was, but other than that,
Giannis was very inefficient throughout a lot of the series,
but that's what I'm
and they
saying.
still
Yeah,
dominated.
exactly. Like he put up 17 in game 3, 20 in game 4, and like they showed that other people around them could even be could step up. Like Bryn Forbes. Like I'm a huge Spurs fan.
Bryn
I
Forbes.
don't like
Oh
Bryn
yeah.
Forbes very much, but I mean he stepped up in this playoff series.
Why don't
Like
you like Bryn Forbes if you're a
he
Spurs fan then?
was not good for us. He was so inefficient. They messed with the lineups last year. They were refusing to put Deontay Murray and Derrick White on the court together for Bryn Forbes, and his defense was
Uh,
horrible. He was very inefficient
well,
shooting the
now he's
ball.
balling.
I
Now
know.
he's balling.
Now he's balling, and the Spurs are watching from home, right?
Yeah.
But no, what? I have respect for him. I just was not sad that we lost him. I'll say that. But I mean, the fact that the Bucks can have all these other players like actually step up, yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna
That, that,
be interesting going forward.
that'd be a tough out. They will be playing the winner of the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. Brooklyn leads this series 3-1. Obviously, the conversation that we had about the fan throwing a water bottle at Kyrie, that's kind of been the focus as of late, but not to take away from anything. The Brooklyn Nets are about to end the Boston Celtics season if they're not careful. Excuse me. Game 5 of the series is in Brooklyn tomorrow on Tuesday. Brooklyn took care of the Celtics in Game 1. Boston hung around though in Game 1. They beat them easily in Game 2. Jason Tatum dropping 50 was the only thing that prevented them from losing Game 3. Like Jason Tatum dropped 50, and they only won by 6. So
Yeah,
it's like he has to be unbelievably great in order for them to win. They Brooklyn scored 141 points, like it was nothing. and won Game 4 in Boston. They're leading the series 3-1. I picked the Nets to win in 5, so I'm right on track with my prediction. I said Boston would get 1 at home. They did, and so I'm feeling really good about my prediction. Robbie picked the Celtics to win in 7 games, and I'm just like applauding him for just going out there and publicly making that declaration. Kudos to him, but that was ridiculous.
Was there
That
much
was
backlash when he made that prediction?
I said last week, I was like, if the Celtics do pull this upset off, I'm going to be playing this clip like for all time because that would be
I
like a
remember that.
historic upset. Like Jaylen Brown's not playing, and the Brooklyn Nets have 3 of the best players ever.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an exaggeration to
No.
say. So I mean, I like my prediction. I'm right on track. I'm right on track. Right there, Nets in 5.
Yeah, I've said it all along. Like Boston was lucky to even they would have been better off losing to Washington in that first play-in game. Um, or did I say Washington? Yeah.
Yeah,
They got the I mean, I don't really know. They probably would have had the same outing against Philadelphia. Boston after they lost Jaylen Brown, they were pretty much screwed, right? Like you said, Jason
yeah,
Tatum, like they need him to play phenomenal to even have a chance to be in games. And like, don't get me wrong, Jason Tatum can be phenomenal in almost every single game. But like you say, he put up 50 and they still barely won. Even last night when they got blown out, he put up 40 points. Outside of Jason Tatum right now, they don't have much. Like Kemba Walker sat.
yeah.
They really don't have much outside of him. Like they can get contributions from a good amount of other players, but no one's like a superstar who's gonna step up. Not when you have like you're playing against 3 of the best players, like you said, that
Mm,
probably have ever played. Yeah, that big 3 for
yeah.
Brooklyn has been ridiculous. And if they have like when they get other people like Joe Harris to chip in, or even Blake Griffin, I mean he's not playing.
Bruce Brown.
Bruce
They got a
Brown,
bunch of
exactly.
random. Yeah, I look. The Celtics season is over in all but name. Like it's just not official yet.
Yeah,
I
another
expect the Nets to
formality.
close them out at home. I think a lot of Celtics fans are like ready for the season to end. They've been hit hard by COVID. They've had a lot of struggles this year with injuries as well. This never seemed to be like their year to really make a go at it. And I think everyone's really interested to see the Bucks Nets series in the next round. So as soon as that becomes official, that's where everyone's focus will turn to, I believe. So I'm
Yeah.
excited, and I do think the Nets will close it out. So that's the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference, the Utah Jazz and Memphis Grizzlies. Uh, I picked the Jazz to win 5. Robbie picked the Jazz to win 4. Again, I'm like in my prediction. I won't say it's an egregious pick by Robbie. I don't think a lot of people expected them to win. Donovan Mitchell missing game 1 obviously was a big factor. Memphis has played really, really tough during this series. They won game 1 in Utah, really stunning a lot of people. They lost game 2 by 12, but they were in that game for a lot of it. And then obviously at home against Utah in game 3, they were in that game a lot. They ended up losing by 10. But I've been really impressed with Ja Morant, who's averaging like 33 plus in these 3 games. Game 4 is tonight in Memphis. And then game 5 will be on Wednesday in Utah. I'm very impressed with Memphis. I'm a Cavs fan. And I wish the Cavs rebuilt their team the way Memphis rebuilt theirs. That being said, I feel confident in my pick. I still think the Jazz will win in 5. They're too good of a team overall. Once Donovan Mitchell stepped on the court, life became a lot more difficult for Memphis. While I don't think it's impossible that Memphis wins tonight and makes this a 6-game series, I do think the Jazz feel more pressure than they did before. I think they have a real good shot to win 4 in a row and win this series in 5.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. Yeah, like you said, once Donovan Mitchell came back, it was. I mean, he was pissed about not even playing in game 1. Like that made a huge,
Yeah,
huge, huge difference for Utah. You talk about Ja Morant. He's been super impressive. I've been super impressed with Dylan Brooks. Not even just in the series,
yeah,
but like the play-in tournament games that he had to play against San Antonio, Golden State. Like he's been phenomenal. And I think if they want to have a chance, like we know John Morant's going to put up a lot of points, but if they can get Dylan Brooks and Kyle Valanciunas or Jonas Valanciunas, excuse me, and Kyle
Yeah.
Anderson to like step up and
Yeah.
actually contribute. Like it's got to be more than just those two. I feel like I'm saying that about every single
Oh yeah.
series
But I
so
mean,
far.
both those guys have had really big moments for them. I just think like Utah has been better
Yeah.
for the last two games. I don't think it. I think it's less of an indictment on Memphis and more of like, okay, look who you're playing. Like
I mean, like you
so.
said, like you guys talked about last week, like Memphis was the only team to make it in because of the play-in tournament. It's like the fact that they're
Yeah.
even able to take game one, like it's super impressive. It's not, yeah, no slight on them. They're playing the number one ranked team in the West,
In
uh,
the league, they're the best record in the league.
Yeah, they're the best team in the league statistically through the season. So I've been super impressed with Memphis, even though they knocked out the Spurs. I wasn't upset about that. Yeah, they've been fun to watch, man.
Yeah, I think the future is bright. I think people will adjust their expectations next year for Memphis. I think it's safe to say that people will be expecting the Grizzlies to be in the playoffs next year. Obviously, the offseason, there's a whole lot that could change, but I think Memphis is really one of those teams that's showing that they won't be the eighth seed for long. Like next year, they could have a home court advantage in the first round. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But I do think Utah will end up winning this series. Here's a series that's been a hell of a series to watch. The LA Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. This series is tied at 2. Robbie picked the Mavericks to win in 6. I picked the Clippers to win in 7. So, both of us, our predictions could still happen with this series tied at 2. The road team is undefeated in this series. The Mavericks won by 10 in game 1 in LA, and then they won by 6 in LA in game 2. And then the series shifted to Dallas, and the Clippers won by 10. And then last night, the Clippers dominated. I mean, thoroughly dominated the Mavs. They won by 25. Game 5 will be on Wednesday. Game 6, I believe, will be on Friday. I mean, this series, you talk about like completely flipping the script. The Clippers lost the first. I'll say this: I don't know if there's any team that had more pressure to win in the playoffs and do well in the playoffs than the Clippers, because the whole offseason, everyone was talking about their meltdown against the Nuggets, blowing a 3-1 lead, and now here they are. They lose the first 2 games against the Mavs at home, looking like they can't defend a high school player, right? And now their shooting improved. Their defense, like they locked down the Mavericks to 81 points. I know Luka Doncic
81.
wasn't playing 100%, but he wasn't really playing 100% earlier either. And I gotta say, the whole attitude on the Clippers season changed. They are right back in this series. I still expect them to win this series now, because I went from thinking they were going to win this series to thinking they could get swept, and then now they win me back with these last 2 games.
That's playoff basketball. Yeah, honestly, I thought there was a very good chance that it could be either the Mavs sweeping them in 4 or winning in 5. I did not see the Clippers picking up a second. They looked bad, like you said. Kawhi had been. I mean, Kawhi is Kawhi. Paul George has been playing decent as well, but Luka had been playing phenomenal. And yeah, I don't know why it looked so. It looked like a completely different team that we saw these last 2 games. Last night especially, the fact that they were only able to put up 81 points blew my mind. Really frustrated me. Um,
They look
I don't know.
nothing like the team that dominated offensively in game 2. Like the
No.
Clipper, I remember specifically game 2. The final score was 127-121. Like it was a shootout. The Clippers would have won that game had they just gotten like 2 or 3 stops in a row, and they weren't able to string together stops late. And now here they are, and the Mavericks are barely able to get over 80 points. Like that's like an insane turnaround from just a couple of games. Like everything that they needed to do, they did, and it's like everything that the Clippers do well is stuff that the Mavericks have trouble dealing with. On the other hand, the stuff that the Mavericks do well, the Clippers had trouble dealing with. But it was just like, again, it was completely different teams. The fact that the road team is undefeated, I think, is also a nice little wrinkle in this series as well. I'm wondering if the Clippers, it's like they just need one game, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Yep, we got this." And so now I think everyone's expecting the Clippers to win because they have all the momentum in the series. Doncic is still not 100%. They can't. They have no offense. They have no coherent offense. The Mavericks do without him. Um,
I
and Kawhi Leonard is just spitting straight fire. Like this is a problem for Dallas.
When Luka was off last night, who stepped up? It was Boban
Bobo
Marjanovic.
Marjanovic.
Boban, that's his first. Those were his first minutes he played in this entire series. Like I don't
Yeah,
know why. Anytime he steps in, he
scored 12.
typically plays well, right? Like last
Yeah,
last year in the playoffs, that was like one of the big things. Is he was like one of the main guys outside of when Kristaps got hurt, right? Like Boban stepped up and he was playing. I love Boban. I think he's a fun player to watch. But at this
gave the
point,
crowd an energy spark.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like he adds something to whenever he jumps on the court. I don't know what it is, but he's entertaining. He's a fun guy to watch. But Luka last night, I think, and we can kind of touch on this real quick. He was obviously like frustrated. Like that guy's been very emotional all season long. I think we could say. Maybe emotional is not the right word to say, but he's definitely had his emotions get the best of him, and it's cost him. Like I mean, he's one of the most teed up guys in the entire league this year, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Like
that sounds about right.
he's. I mean, hopefully he doesn't let this carry over into the next series or the next game in this series because
Was gonna say
I mean
next
he's
series
obviously
they'd be
off.
they'd be lucky to get in the next
Yeah,
series at this point.
yeah, he's got to keep his cool, man. He's still young. How old is Luka? 22,
We're
21
we're
maybe.
older than him.
Yeah,
AJ, you and me, we are both older than Luka
that
Doncic,
blows my mind. He's
right?
22 years old.
And
Yeah,
and and he is like far and away the best player on his team. Like
yeah.
it's not like there's a number two that's like close to them. Like it's just like he's far and away the best player on the team. His usage rate is sky high, and now here they are. The series is tied at 2, so it's this is not over. Like
Yeah, they're they're
we
not.
shouldn't
Yeah,
we shouldn't just say, oh, the Mavericks are in trouble. I mean, they are in trouble because the Clippers are coming now. But look, it's still tied at 2. Now it's a best of 3 series. They'll still have an opportunity to go back home for Game 6, and we'll see where we go from there. But the Clippers have made all the right adjustments. Tyronn Lue gets a lot of hate, but gotta give him some credit here for what he's been able to get his team to do over these last 2 games. So that series is tied at 2. Another great series tied at 2. In fact, the Utah-Memphis series is the only series right now in the West that's not tied at 2. Classic Western Conference. The 3rd seed Denver Nuggets and the 6th seed Portland Trail Blazers tied at 2 right now. Robbie picked the Blazers to win in 6. I picked the Nuggets to win in 7. Either could still happen.
yeah.
This has been like the definition of a back and forth series. Portland won in Denver in Game 1. Nuggets respond in Game 2. Really, really good close game in Game 3 that Denver is able to win by 5. And then Portland just utterly dominated them in Game 4. Now, tomorrow, we got Game 5 in Denver. And then Game 6 will be on Wednesday, I believe, or sorry, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. This has been so much fun to watch. I think this might be my favorite series to watch. I really, really, really like both of these teams, and I hate that one of them has to lose in the
Mhm.
first round. But hey, one of them will go to the second round. And these two teams, they played each other. I believe two postseasons ago in 2019, and that series went 7. And Portland and the second that was the second round series. Portland won in 7, I believe, and then they lost to the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. There's like there's a lot of pushing and shoving, a lot of like spiciness there. The stars have been balling. Jokic and Lillard have both averaged over 30 a game in this series. Lillard's also averaging like 9.5 assists a game. 11 rebounds a game for Jokic in this series. I really believe this series will go the distance. And again, like I said, I picked the Nuggets to win in 7. But I mean, AJ, like this is like these are two teams that when you look at the title picture, they aren't really mentioned as much, I think, as they should. And uh, I think one of these teams has a really good chance to shock some people in the second round.
Yeah, it could be either or in all honesty. I I have a hard time predicting this game this series. I really have no preference if I'm being honest. Like you said, like these are two fun teams to watch. They're not really they're different from what we're typically getting in terms of like the teams that should be in the Western Conference finals. I think I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's been interesting so far that Nikola Jokic has gone pretty much shot for shot with Damian Lillard. Like they're both dropped 34 in the first game. I
How it
think there's
should be, yeah.
yeah, 42 to 30. I mean, Nikola Jokic has been super impressive, but outside of him, man, like that team has been very. They definitely miss Jamal Murray. Um,
Well, yeah, 100%. They did get like they got a lot of Jokic got a lot of help in game 3. Like Austin Rivers was nailing threes
Austin
like it
Rivers,
was
yep.
nothing. And he was like out of the league for a stretch this season. Like the Knicks cut him, signed by Denver, and he hit like three threes in the fourth quarter of their game 3 win. That was huge. Also in game 4 on Portland's end, I think Damian Lillard made one shot from the floor and they won by 20, and which like Norman Powell went off. CJ McCollum had a great game. Like as great as these two stars have been, there have been some really important other pieces that have stepped up, other players that have shown out. I mean, again, Austin Rivers had 21 points, I believe, in game 3.
Yeah.
Like
But
there have been big performances
but
throughout, not just the stars.
here's the difference though. Like on Portland's side, that help from outside of Damian Lillard has been much more consistent. Like CJ McCollum's gonna put up points regardless, right? Norman Powell, he's shown that he can put up a lot of points as well. Even Carmelo coming off the bench. When it comes to Denver, like it's not consistent. Like Austin Rivers he put up 21 and then he followed it up with an 8-point game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Aaron Gordon has been so to me. I don't know if you feel this way, but he's been so frustrating, so disappointing since getting traded to Denver. I had
Oh, I don't
really
feel that
high
way at
hopes for
all.
him. I had such high hopes for him, and I don't, I mean, I know he's not the guy anymore like he was in Orlando, but
Well, I don't even know if he was the guy in Orlando,
he
but
was playing like the guy. They didn't have much else down there.
I think Nikola Vucevic was the guy there.
Well,
But
yeah,
I digress. I think Gordon's been terrific defensively. I think they had a lot of success when he got switched on to Lillard. I think that's where he's made a lot of his impact. He, I think, has fit really well next to Jokic. He covers up a lot of Jokic's deficiencies on defense. I do think he could be a little bit better offensively consistently in this series. I think that would be big. But I like him. I like Michael Porter Jr. a lot. And I think they've gotten just enough from the others on their team. I like the toughness that Paul Millsap brings. Like they have guys who, they might not be able to do what they do for like 3, 4 games, but like a game or two here and there, like what Rivers did in game 3, that's all they really need. Because Nikola Jokic is just, he's built different, man. He's
yeah,
built different. The,
he's the
the
MVP this
biggest,
year for sure.
the biggest stat for me is that he's only averaging Nikola Jokic 3 assists a game in this series. Like he was averaging like what 8, 9 assists a game in the regular season. Like
Yeah,
that's the only thing that's like concerning to me. But even that, it's like he's set up guys for good looks. They haven't necessarily hit them all. I think if and when those looks go down, that's when Portland's in trouble.
yeah. Maybe I'm basing too much off Game 4, but even
Yeah,
Michael
game 4
Porter,
was bad for Denver.
even
Game
Michael
4 was
Porter,
really
I've been a
bad.
little like iffy on. But it's I think Nikola Jokic covers up a lot, definitely. And when he's off, when he only put up 16 points and like you said, one assist, that yeah, the rest of the team's gonna look bad, at least statistically. So we'll see. This game, I really don't know. I don't have a prediction for it. If I have to pick, I'd say probably Portland, just because they have a little bit more consistency on the offensive side of things. But we'll see. It'll be a good series.
Yep, I hope it goes 7. And then finally, the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. This series is now tied at 2. Phoenix, they beat a Lakers team that just looked way out of sorts in game 1. And then games 2 and 3, the Lakers came and took the series lead. They won in Phoenix in game 2. They won in game 3 at home. Anthony Davis in particular was terrific. And then the Suns yesterday tying the series. They win in LA. They get home court advantage back. Anthony Davis getting hurt. He's day to day. We'll see how that affects the rest of the series. I was the only one to say that the Lakers were going to win this series. Robbie and Sean Stewart, who we had on last week, they both said the Suns were going to win. Robbie said that the Suns were going to win in 5. Obviously, like they made that prediction after at that point Phoenix was winning 1-0, and they just won game 1 99-90. And so I think that may have I'll give Robbie a little bit of a pass here because I think it was a little bit
He
influenced
was
by
riding
game
the
1.
high.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, it's definitely not going to be a 5-game series. This series is at least going to 6 now. I picked the Lakers to win in 7. That could still happen. Game 5 of the series is back in Phoenix tomorrow. Anthony Davis's injury obviously is the big emphasis of this series. DeAndre Ayton looked absolutely terrific in game 4. He's played well during this series overall. He's had some moments where he could have been, I think, a little bit more aggressive, but he's played really well. Devin Booker obviously is giving you 25 a night in this series. Chris Paul, though, I mean, as he goes, the Suns go. He was injured. He clearly wasn't 100% in game 3. Game 4, he showed up in a big way. 18 points, 9 assists, no turnovers, I believe. That was really big. Monty Williams, the head coach for Phoenix, wanted to sit him out. He said, "Hell no." This is a series that I think is going to go the distance. This is a series that is going to be defined, I think, by the injuries, with Chris Paul being hurt for a game, Anthony Davis missing a large chunk of game 4. Now we're gonna see. We're gonna see what these guys are made of. LeBron James, he's averaging just under 22 points a game. I think if the Lakers are going to win this series, he's got to up that a little bit more. But like I said last week, I'm not one to bet against LeBron James, especially not in the first round of the playoffs, and I don't plan on doing that right now. I still think I'm going to stick with my pick, and I'm going to say Lakers in 7.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. This series will definitely go the distance. I'm battling back and forth too, though. Like you said, it will legitimately be like which team can like stay get the healthiest by the end of the series. Chris Paul's definitely looking better from game 2 and game 3, but yeah,
Much better.
Anthony Davis, if he has to miss like a significant amount of time, or if he even misses a game or two, like who steps up in his place? Not not much. The bigs for Los Angeles have not like inspired as much as I honestly thought they would have this season.
I'll say this. Marc Gasol, I think, had a really nice game 4.
Yeah,
I think overall he's had a lot to be left to be desired, but he hit some big threes. He made some important plays defensively that didn't show up on the stat sheet. He just altered some shots.
and
I
3
think they
blocks
need to
too.
increase his minutes. Yeah, I think he played well. They need more of that from him. I think Andre Drummond he just kept getting cooked by Ayton down low. I mean, it was just like a mismatch. When on paper it shouldn't be, but there's the Andre Drummond experience for you. I think he is a really good rebounding presence still, but like he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, and that's not an accident. Don't know why Montrezl Harrell did not play in games 2 or 3 of this series, and then only play in game 4 in the fourth quarter. I think like a lot of the Lakers like role players, I don't really know what's going on with them. But look, again, like LeBron James is where this will start and finish. Like he needs to score more. He needs to put his head down and get to the basket more. I know he hasn't been hitting his foul shots, but he's got to keep going to the line. That's how the Lakers will win this series. And if he doesn't, the defending champs are going to go home.
Yeah, it's interesting that like you said, the bench players have not really done much. Like Montrezl Harrell, he's the one in particular. Yeah, 4 minutes. I don't know what that was about. Like I was excited when they got him because I mean he was a six man of the year. Like I thought that he would be a huge boost to this team that just won the NBA championship. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean he's obviously pissed too. He tweeted out last night after the game. Can't read it out because there's some bad words there. But he's obviously pissed about being benched too. Like I have no idea why he's not playing more,
Yeah.
especially with how they're not getting anything else from that position. You know what I mean? From that spot on the court.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This series though,
Yeah.
what's your prediction? What was yours?
I said Lakers in 7.
Yeah. Yeah, it is at this point it's a little redundant, but it is hard to bet against LeBron in all honesty. Can't do it.
That's the only thing. If it was like a different star, like if it was James Harden leading the Lakers, if it was Kevin Durant, or even if it was Kawhi Leonard, like it's LeBron James. That's why. That's the only reason why, and that's why I didn't go along with Sean and Robbie last week and pick the Suns after they won Game 1. But I mean, they could be in trouble. The Lakers could be in trouble. Game 5 is going to be must-see TV, as is every game in this series has been. And then I believe Game 6 will be on Thursday, back in Los Angeles. So I mean, if I had to like make a prediction game by game, I say Suns win Game 5. I say Lakers then win Game 6, and then Game 7. Anything could happen, but I go Lakers in 7. So the Western Conference is just showing its superiority just in their playoff series. Especially if Memphis wins tonight, every one of the series in the Western Conference will be tied at 2. So that just shows you how
The difference.
how damn good the Western Conference is.
Yeah, it shows you the
I mean,
competitiveness for sure.
the East already has one sweep. The Sixers win tonight, that's a sweep. And then and Atlanta and Brooklyn are a game away from making those series a 5-game series, like a gentleman's sweep. So the Eastern Conference hasn't been the better conference since Michael Jordan. Like it's been basically since then. It's been the entire Western Conference. Like that they've been the better conference.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who's at the top of the West either. Like it was at the time where it was just, I mean, even goes back like the Spurs and the Warriors, right? It was bouncing back and forth. Like the Warriors were, gosh, how many years in a row did the Warriors play the Cavs in the finals?
They played the Cavs in the finals 4 years in a row. They went to the finals 5 years in a row.
But that's what's awesome. Like we have Utah and Phoenix up at the top now. Like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless of who it is. Yeah,
some new blood.
Exactly. So it's been fun so far. It's been awesome. We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I said, it's like my favorite television show is on every night. It's amazing. AJ Alona, you know your balls, and I'm happy you joined me to talk some NBA hoops. Make sure to check out Tell ABQ. Big shout out to Tell ABQ. Download the Tell ABQ app, where you can check out this podcast and a bunch of others. Follow Tonique on all of our socials. You know the works. Latonique.news. Check us all out. Some closing thoughts for the people, AJ?
Well, I don't have a joke for you. I'll say that. I believe that's a Robbie. He's gonna have to bring
Love
that
to hear
back,
it,
man. No, I mean we'll see. Like I've said it all. These series have been super hard to predict, super up and back and forth. They've been some good basketball to watch, but I will say that I can't wait until we get back to some football stuff. I'm itching for some football news.
Yes. I'm ready. This is the longest off season ever. Glad we got a little bit of football in there. This has been All Your Balls. See you next time.
Have a good one.